Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Strife's Talking Points, where I try and make sense out of the world and give you all my opinion. I feel like I need to add that last part because this is my opinion from reading the news and going through stuff and taking a general overview of everything that's going on. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. It's always fun to go through the comments, see other people's opinion, and try and answer back when I can. And also, there's some decent discussions going on in the comments some days. Headline from NBC News: Portland leaders send unified message ahead of Proud Boys rally. Stay home. Now, that's a little skewed, but hey, we don't want you here. We never wanted you here. If you come, we will expose you to the light of day, said one Portland, Oregon official. Apparently, this official didn't want their name put out there. By Eric Ortiz, leaders of Washington's largest city continued their pleas for nonviolence. Now, you'll see that a lot, violence, nonviolence, and you'll see a lot of ties in these stories going towards Charlottesville, the Unite the Right rally, and these other things. Now, just for mentioning here, the Unite the Right rally actually happened a couple of times. There have been multiple rallies like that. And the violence and the aggression actually happened when you got the two sides together. When the people in Charlottesville decided to let Antifa and the white nationalist groups come in contact, basically ended the various protests because, no, there were not only two groups there. There were multiple different groups at this. People on the right. And just being on the right doesn't make you a white supremacist. It just makes you on the right, more of a conservative, more of a Republican, any of that. Now, when you get to the extremes, where you have the neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the Klans on the what we now consider to be the right, still don't know why, because most of their ideologies match up with the exact same groups on the left, but we just call them left and right. Antifa is a big one now. Their pleas for nonviolence, while warning police will be out in force during Saturday's planned demonstration in downtown Portland, where, of course, here's NBC playing their political agenda. Far-right activists and anti-fascist supporters could clash yet again. Now, in this story, they're discussing, I believe it's tomorrow, it's supposed to be the rally. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, joined by a multiracial coalition of civil rights organizers, faith leaders, and community groups, said during a gathering Wednesday that anyone using the guise of free speech to commit acts of violence is not welcome in our city. Not exactly stay home, not welcome in our city. I wonder if that goes to the Rose City Antifa and the other groups that are there, as well as the Proud Boys. The weekend rally is organized by Proud Boys, whose founder has described it as a fraternal organization for young men, for young Western chauvinist men. This is originally more like a boys club. I've seen a lot of videos of the Proud Boys groups, and by and large, they're just a bunch of guys getting together, goofing off. They are proud to be in the West, they are proud to be men, and they enjoy themselves as such. And it is expected, that's my thoughts, and it is expected to attract demonstrators from around the country. They say the purpose of their End Domestic Terrorism event is to oppose anti-fascists, collectively called Antifa, and known for wearing masks and all-black clothing. Organizers want Antifa to be declared a terrorist organization. Now, we go through a lot of other stuff here. I'm going to skip down. Portland Police Chief Daniel Outlaw said, what a good name. Chief Daniel Outlaw, the Portland Police Chief, that's his real name. That is amazing. Said Wednesday that hundreds of hours have been spent planning the Bureau's response for Saturday. Definitely Saturday, got that right. And the city is working with local, state, federal law enforcement to make sure people are kept safe. All of the city's 1,000 officers will be called in. Wheeler said police will mobilize quickly if violence flares. Now, I opened way too many tabs for this, and I wanted to show something here. Here we go. This is from the June 29th rally, just a month and a half ago. And I went through this looking at the different images. This is Portland police. This is Antifa. Antifa was attacking people in the street. Well, where'd all my images go? Oh, here we go. Antifa, member of Antifa being arrested. Again, Antifa being sprayed. This is what an Antifa group looks like coming at you. They're a wall of people with helmets and body armor and gloves and big jack black boots. They are a small army. I mean, this is what Antifa looks like. They're coming out after the Proud Boys, and the police and Antifa clashed repeatedly. Multiple reports of Antifa beating citizens, which you see one here. You have the Andy No incident where they pepper spray people, hit them with milkshakes, attack them, beat them, surround people. I found this funny. This is abolish ICE, abolish work. These people don't understand. These are highly entitled people by and large. And mostly they break down into little violent groups. That is Antifa. These are also the people that attacked and beat Andy No. A little bit on that story. Again, like I said, I opened too many windows to find it again. Well, anyway, should have been a big enough story. People saw it. Andy No was attacked by this man. Found it. Or this is one of the suspects. Portland mayor is taking a tough on crime approach to Antifa. On June 29th, conservative journalist Andy No was attacked while covering an Antifa rally in Portland. You can find video of this everywhere. No sustained multiple blows to the head. Milkshakes made with ready-mix concrete were chucked at him. The attack resulted in a brain hemorrhage. This thing about ready-mix cement being chucked at him was a report from the police. Said they saw this happening in some instances, not in all. There was a group that actually was sponsoring vegan milkshakes they were actually bringing them out, mixing them up and giving them to people to throw at other people, encouraging political violence against your opponents. Should never be allowed. In most of these rallies, the video footage I've seen has been very much the majority of it has been stuff you see from Antifa. You do see when the people on the right decide to fight back, they are much better at it by and large than people on the left. There's actually a video that I found here. News agencies go after Proud Boys and patriot groups. This is a video here of a local news agency showing a man who said he was attacked by Antifa or Proud Boys or something like that, and of course they call him far right white supremacists, and the people that attacked him were not even white. They are people who are glad to live in the West. And here's a little video. I'm going to back up just a second. Sorry. This is an Antifa member trying to hit a Proud Boys member as a riot ensues behind them.
On Twitter.
Throws, misses, knocks him out in one punch, knocks him down. So if you get into a fight, a running street brawl with people, and you're actively trying to attack this man, and this man is just better at fighting than you are, that's kind of your problem. Don't attack people in the street. Anytime you see these, what you get is a one-sided story. The man here on the ground and quite a few other people were trying to attack this man and his friends, and he's just trying to get out, get away, because there's 20 people there, and he knocks somebody out. And Antifa shows that. Or Antifa, Proud Boys show that. They show that we can fight back. We will not let you beat us up, as in this man here who was bear sprayed. They used bear spray on him. They beat him in the middle of the street There's video footage of it. You can find it. There's multiple images of it. Where were the Proud Boys actually during most of this stuff? On a different side of town in a small group. See them here wearing hats, polos, Make America Great Again hats, jorts. I can't abide by men wearing jean shorts. Don't do it. That's what that looks like to me. It's disturbing. So here the Proud Boys group. Notice they're by the river. Where did all the violence happen? In the city center area where all these people were attacking other people. Not what you're seeing. Whenever they try and approach them, they try and do it easy, fun, simple, speak. And then, of course, here's another picture of that man I showed you earlier, being head split open, being helped by police. Various fights breaking out in the streets. This man here, I'm pretty sure, is a Proud Boy. I think this is video from the other side where he knocked out that guy that I just showed you a minute ago. Antifa. Look, you see he's got milkshake all over him. He's been attacked. He's fighting back. People don't know what to do. This is, remember Antifa with the goggles and mask on trying to punch somebody. He's got his hands up. Somebody's on the ground. These are Antifa. So a group of 8 or 9 Antifa, 12 Antifa people attack one person. Proud to be fascist. Antifa. What an odd shirt to wear. I wonder if that's real. Yeah, and you'll notice that a lot of the Proud Boys are not white. They're just glad to be men. And of course you have the mobs of people coming at them. This is the Antifa group. And whenever these things happen, you know, the violence you see, the violence that comes out in the news is generally coming from people on the left, from Antifa. They are a violent group, and as we've seen left-wing violence ratchet up in the last few months with the multiple shootings at the, what do you call them, the ICE facilities, detention centers. There actually have been multiple shootings. The guy tried to firebomb it. Daytona was the first left-wing socialist mass shooter, and it's not really reported on in the news. All right, we're going to switch over to the Fox News take on here. This is Gabriel Nadales, Antifa violence feared in Portland Saturday. Group must be condemned and exposed. Being a member of Antifa, and this is what I kind of get from watching stuff from various colleges, places like that, it's kind of a fun, hip thing. I mean, it's good to say you're fighting Nazis in the street when in reality you're dressing like Nazis, acting like them, shutting down freedom of speech, and then going out and attacking people. Now, I'm all for if we actually do have, you know, Nazis, we need to shut them down, but I don't know that role-playing in the streets is a way to do it. The wounds haven't yet healed from the last Antifa Proud Boys sparring match. Indeed, no one has been arrested for the savage June 29th attack on Quillette reporter Andrew No, which was done by Antifa in a group with police watching, and yet they did nothing, is bracing for yet another demonstration Saturday. Given the rising violence in communities across the U.S., I fear that our country may suffer from another embarrassing and tragic display of an attack and thuggish behavior to silence the free speech rights of opposing views. Remember, in the U.S., the First Amendment is freedom of speech. Free speech rights must be protected, even for those who we disagree with, and even for those we find morally reprehensible. The spike in violence we've seen rising from groups on the far right and the far left pose a serious threat to the First Amendment. Now, when the far left rises, generally you will see a balancing act from the far right. You get this massive disconnect when people on the extreme left are rising, and if you watch CNN, any of these things, you've seen multiple times the mainstream media, these large news organizations have defended and promoted some of the values of Antifa, anti-fascist, But Antifa is mostly just a silencing free speech. And, you know, they don't go out, to my opinion, they don't go out looking like that. They go out attacking people, attacking reporters when they can, whatever. And they keep their faces covered so people don't know who they are. Anyway, I don't like the idea. The violence and intimidation must stop for our republic to function as our founders intended. But this cannot happen if those with the most powerful and loudest voices in our society, like politicians and the mainstream media and educators, continue to ignore the core drivers of violence. Antifa. Again, Charlottesville rally, there was no violence any of the other times they've had rallies around that statue. What happened when their violence came? The police let Antifa, who did not have permits to be there, protest openly in the street and did not keep the two groups separated. What happened in Charlottesville 2, where only less than 10 people from the white supremacist movement showed up? Antifa attacked journalists, people in the streets, and clashed with police. There's only mild reporting on it because if it's not white supremacists or right-wing violence, it doesn't sell as well through the media. When you had this thing here, I was watching a lot of the video stuff going on, and it was most of the violence you could find and see were large groups of Antifa cornering and either clashing with police or fighting with the handful of people they found there. Always milkshake, attack, bear spray, and some of them got beat up, and they beat up other people, such as Andy No and the man I showed beforehand. And on occasion, the video I had a minute ago showed the guy getting himself knocked out by a person he had attacked, and then, of course, always claim you're the victim. The media have a responsibility to accurately report the details of both mass murders. As the late Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis said, sunshine is the best disinfectant. The media, and I believe this is referring to the Daytona's shooters' ties to Antifa. By ignoring the group, the media are complicit in allowing it to grow in darkness. Now, you can watch expose after expose about different white supremacist groups being called out and picked up. Those things need to continue. We do not need neo-Nazis in the U.S. We do not need neo-fascist or neo-communists, new communists, socialists. They don't need to be allowed here. There's actually multiple, it's hard to see from here, but there's little communist sickles on a lot of these Antifa's helmets. What you'll see is a few people here, and then police having to hold back a entire tidal wave. Yeah, see, communist sickle. We don't need them. We don't need this type of stuff in the United States. Freedom of speech, you should be able to go out and talk and say what you will and get away fine. But even more dangerous, back to the Fox News article, and concerning is the way media make light and even glorify Antifa's activities. Members of the media should understand the power they have in influencing their millions of viewers, readers, and listeners. Positive exposure of the group encourages people to join Antifa and normalizes violence. Carlos Maza, Vox, NBC, CNN, they've all made light of the idea of the political violence, throwing milkshakes at people, chasing people, making them scared, intimidation tactics that Antifa uses, while at the same time directly going after any right-wing group that would do any part of that. And when you start to see that we've got our first, Antifa shooter, you can see that in the last few years, left-wing violence has been almost nowhere, and now they have their first mass shooter. They've shot at and tried to firebomb government facilities. They are on the rise to be as credible or more credible threat than we've seen from the extreme right in this country. In an interview on MSNBC, Ellie Mistel called for people to bring pitchforks and torches to the home of Stephen Ross, CEO of Equinox and SoulCycle, because Ross donated to President Trump's re-election campaign. Ellie Mastel should be severely looked at for that. Days later, Mastel doubled down, saying, "You do not negotiate with these people, you destroy them." Oddly enough, Mastel defined his suggested actions as peacefully demonstrating. This is intimidation and fear. If you go to someone's house with burning torches and pitchforks, it is no different than white supremacists go into someone's house with burning crosses and pitchforks. That is an act of intimidation and an act of violence. That is clearly what Ellie, I thought it was a lady's name, I don't really care, is asking for. You cannot have violence allowed from one group but not to another. If you want to condemn and go after violence from white supremacists, from neo-Nazis, from the Klan, from whatever group, you can't have rules for one side and not rules for the other. That's what we're running into, is because even though places like CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all these places try and cover it and make it look like, no, this isn't happening, all you have to do is a cursor, it's just go through the information. And you can clearly pick out what is going on. It is not what they're telling you. It is, you see places like MSNBC, CNN is one I know did it, actively promoting left-wing violence, left-wing extremism, trying to make it sound fun and necessary. Well, all that happens is on the right, people who see that on the extreme right take that information, show it to people, give them facts, give them actual truth. You didn't even have to lie. If one group is endorsing extreme violence on the left, another group can just show the endorsement, the extreme violence, and say, hey, look, this is a fact, this is what they're doing, here's the actual what's going on. And then they spin that and make that person on the other side radicalize further, because if you condemn it on the left and that same thing tries to happen, your extremists on the other side can't find as easy of victims to spin, because they can't look and say, hey, look, they're lying for them. No, all he has to say is, well, yeah, they're attacking them, saying that's horrible, and they're being arrested and being shut down, so it's not going to happen as much. But hey, it could happen. No, they get to say, yes, this is what they're doing. They're actively hiding this information. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think Portland's going to explode this weekend? Do you think 1,000 police will be enough? I've seen some information on this on Rose City Antifa and some of the other groups that have, hundreds of members. If they do show up with weapons, with guns, like I said, you've seen Antifa violence spiking here recently. Do you think it'll actually break down into an all-out riot? Or do you think, most of the Proud Boys, the official groups, and the people will be completely separate from the rest of them on a bridge on the other side of town while Antifa fights with police? What do you think? I don't know. Leave that up to you guys. Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Sorry, this is a long video, a lot of rambling. I gotta say, my personal opinion is I put Antifa right there with the neo-Nazis and how they act, dress. However, I do give an edge to Antifa as having almost united mainstream support from colleges, from cities. Portland's mayor is actually in the past has directed the city not to stop Antifa from shutting down streets and blocking things. When there's no permits, they just want to take over and show they're in power. But as far as when it actually comes down to street fighting or really targeted attacks, Antifa is more of a attack everyone, everywhere, mild violence milkshakes, occasionally smacking people over the head with the occasional bike lock or pipe or bear spray, mace. And then you have the extreme right, which I got to tell you, the Proud Boys are not in that. They're, as they said, they're male chauvinists. It's more like a fraternity, a beer club, and they just want to drink a couple beers, hang out, and talk smack. But when you go to the extreme right, they tend to be much more effectively violent. When they shoot, they kill. When they attack, it's fatal. And I do believe that's really the only difference between the two, because they're completely their ideology is so close that you would have trouble if you just omitted the word fascism from Antifa and they were called anti-free speech. They're identitarian. They're extremely racist in how they treat people. They do believe that as white people, they have genetic social advantages over everyone else. And yeah, I don't get it. Gonna leave it with there, guys. Please let me know what you guys think. It's a long video, very rambly. I hope most of you didn't get mad halfway through. But hey, I can't control you. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think below.